I was just going to say it's very interesting that I said three-dimensional bodies in two-dimensional spaces because I just wrote a paper for school, an in-process essay that's supposed to be about, or in-practice, sorry, it's called, yes, an in-practice essay. So it's reflecting on a shift in your teaching or your choreography or something you're doing differently. And I just wrote this huge, beefy paper on building 3D community in a 2D platform. That was the title of my paper. So I've been thinking a lot about this, actually. It's interesting, you know, at the end of open air, I had to sort of, which I feel like I've said many times, I've had to like let the reins go and sort of let the dances live and let, you know, trust the performers to be responding to the space and responding to the sun and the weather and, you know, responding to the audience, engaging and interacting in that site-specific situation. And so I've had to sort of release the reins and let that go. That was a huge growing experience for me. And I thought, woof, you know, it's gonna be like, okay, back to my old ways for a hot little moment. And then, you know, not only did I suffer this really intense injury, but I also came face to face with a major shift in the world. And, you know, this pandemic has completely changed the way our spaces function and the way dance functions, right? We can't be in the physical space, let alone touching one another, breathing each other's air. I mean, there's so much about human interaction that is essential to the way dancers function, right? It's getting back to that idea of being real. Like if I put my hand on someone, I'm not just sort of hovering, right? Like we want to actually touch them. We want to get in people's spaces because when we get in each other's spaces, then the audience feels that connection.
So I've been asking them to go, you know, into what this quarantine has meant for them. Like, what does isolation feel like to you? Like, where have you been frustrated? Where have you been anxious? Where have you been? And if those aren't the feelings you're feeling, what are you feeling? And then how do you bring those feelings into what it is that we're doing?
It's been a huge challenge to try to create the same kind of authentic human emotion through, you know, a computer screen. And what's been most interesting, I think, for me as an artist is that I've yet again like really loosened the reins, because what I realized after our first visit to the farm is there were a lot of things going on choreographically in the dancers' bodies that I didn't realize. You know, that things that I thought were going according to plan, or, you know, in more dancey dance pieces where I thought the timing was working, or this, you know, there's a lag, there's a delay, there's, you know, miscommunication, there's misinterpretation, there's just a whole lot of variables working in Zoom. And so
we built this each week in class at the end. We built all of these phrases. So as a choreographer and as a teacher, I had to figure out how to create movement that took place in, you know, like a 5 foot by 5 foot square in my tiny New York apartment.
I'm someone who, you know, even when stuff is not going, you know, even when stuff is not going okay, I'm someone who takes a breath and it's gonna be okay, right? And I didn't really feel okay. And I could sense that the dancers were not okay, and, you know, our community was not okay. Nothing was okay. And, you know, we were sort of treading water, not knowing when the boat was coming back for us, you know? And at first, sure, you have all this energy and you're like, oh, we can tackle this, right? And then you realize the boat's really not coming for a long time. And then, you know, that sort of reality settles in.
So there's all this full-bodied movement, but they don't really go anywhere. You'll notice they stay within the confines of their screen, and you can sort of see them at all times, which is so cool. And like you see Hannah upstage in the corner there, each one of them gets caught in a loop. So you see Talia upstage in pink getting caught, which is exactly what happens on screen. Some of them would just freeze, and I would be like, did we lose you? Did we find you? Are you there? I wanted to sort of build a piece that didn't work against the technology. It worked with it. and it didn't even work against, the struggles of what we were facing, which was, this is like really the first time they're performing this full out together.
A lot of dance companies and choreographers who say, or even performers who say, like, unless I can be in a studio doing what I do in a theater with an audience watching me, I don't want to do it until it's back, And I can't really work like that, though I am an incredibly particular kind of human who enjoys stuff to be the way I want it to be, and I enjoy having I'll use the word control very lightly, but my jurisdiction over stuff that I am managing. I realized that unless I shifted and changed how I do stuff, I was not going to be able to survive. And I mean, it's amazing because, 9 months into a pandemic, my community is much bigger.